Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and a couple years ago now, I picked up this Husqvarna 701 Enduro to do some sort of dual sport adventure testing on. Because I've got about an hour ride to get to any decent off-road trails, and I want to be able to enjoy those road miles, I like to stick some form of wind protection on all of my bikes. And when I picked up the 701 Enduro here, the guy that I purchased it from was running BDRs on it, so he had this, I think it's a KTM 690 windscreen on here. And it's just sort of retrofitted onto the fairing. And when I installed the Speedo CarPlay unit on here, I stood the windshield off even a little bit further by adding a little bit of space between the fairing and the shield there, so you can kind of see the fasteners sticking out. There's maybe a little bit of a better shot from the opposite side. And honestly, this really does work halfway decent. If you guys are interested in this shield, I don't know if this one specifically is available, but I can put an affiliate link for both this shield and the new one that will be sticking on today down in the description and in the top pinned comment. Those are affiliate links. If you guys use them, they don't cost you anything extra, but they help me to continue making videos like this, so I definitely appreciate when you guys use those. Huge thanks to anybody that has been. Also, partially, I think, due to the way that I've got this thing fastened on here, I had a couple of the parts where the fasteners go through bust off, so I've got that part glued on. I've also got some cracks going on here, so might not be the ideal installation. The one that I've got linked down in the description, though, I believe is specifically for this bike, so it should fit better. I don't know that you'd be able to stand it off and put a CarPlay unit on here like I've got. That's, of course, up to you. And this is the windshield and brackets that we'll be testing today. And this is not a sponsored product. This is something that I purchased myself off of Amazon. Got instructions there. But the reason that I decided to try this out is that I'm thinking it should give me a little bit more upper body protection since it sticks above the screen that I've got on here now by, well, quite a few inches. This screen certainly helped keep sort of below my shoulders protected from the wind and from the cold and from wind fatigue, but I like to have something that, well, covers my neck up at least a little bit more, and most of the screens like I've got on the DR and the XR right now, the wind sort of hits me right about here, so riding with an open windshield or an open visor on your helmet doesn't really work the greatest, but I prefer to have that sort of buffeted air, well, not hitting me right in the neck and not sort of coming up into my helmet. My camera equipment seems to deal with the wind noise on this bike pretty well, but when I was out testing this to kind of make sure I knew exactly how it felt yesterday, I did get some footage for you guys so we can kind of listen and compare. So it'll be interesting to see how that footage compares and how the new windshield makes me feel. But of course, before we can test that, we've got to get it installed. So let's do that. We've got a lot of different fasteners in here, so this might be kind of a puzzle. Oh, Dave, get out of here. I swear, anytime I'm down in the garage working, the chickens have to be in here with me. So first, looks like we want to get the big fasteners and nuts, along with the washers that match. And it's going to fit together something like that, and then the shield will be able to be stood a little bit closer or a little bit farther away, depending on where we place that. Is there supposed to be a washer on the backside? I'd like there to be. I don't know if we've got enough of those, though. Seems like yes, unless I'm going to need those somewhere else. Oh yeah, and I think you can see one right there on the backside. There we are. I suppose maybe we'll bring some tools along and adjust this while we're out on the ride to see how different positions affect it. Of course, if you adjust this enough times, you might eventually wear that nylon out, and then you'll want to add some blue thread locker in there. But for now, I think we'll just hope that that can hold on. Dave, get out of here. Nobody wants to hear you crowing. I moved out to the country for some peace and quiet. Instead, I got roosters and manure trucks hauling stuff up and down the road. When they punch washers out, the backside ends up with a little bit of kind of a sharp edge to it, and if you put that on the piece that you're clamping, then oftentimes you end up kind of scratching that up a little bit, and I'm sure this isn't going to completely keep it from getting marred up, but installing them with that sort of softer edge down towards the metal, I think, is a good way to at least cut down on some of the scratching. Oh, Dave. What exactly are you doing out here? Huh? Go hang out in the woods, Dave. Buck, 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 buck. Ashley's just here messing around, kicking stuff all over the garage. Buck, 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 buck. Go on. Go find something to do. Back already, I see, Dave, eh? Buck, 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 buck. Those, I think, are going to be a 10. Yep. And a 4. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love having ratcheting wrenches. Next, we're going to actually attach the screen to this, but I think we've got some rubber that's going to go between the metal and the plastic, which is definitely a good idea. So for this part, I need the slightly smaller fasteners, the plastic washers, and I'll put that through the shield itself. So I guess this is actually plastic, which is, I suppose, a little bit better than just metal on metal. Then this is the sort of rubberized washer. There's the sort of tapered side of it, and then the other side is just flat. And per the instructions, it looks like this tapered side is going to go kind of towards the bracket, away from the windshield, like that. Next comes the bracket itself, then one of the small metal washers, and finally one of the small nylock nuts. I'll just repeat that process on all 4 holes and snug everything down. Starting to take shape and look a bit like a rally shield now. Those are a 3. And the nuts look to be an 8. I think these I'm just going to kind of barely snug down. No reason to overdo them. It's enough to compress that rubber and hopefully keep it from vibrating around too much. Of course, I'm just a YouTuber, not a mechanic, so take that all with a grain of salt. And the rest of these fasteners are going to be used to fix the brackets to the stock headlight cowl, which of course means I've got to pull the headlight cowl off. And if I recall correctly, I think there's some fasteners around here somewhere. There's one, and there's the other one. I had to grab the Tusk Torx set for that. If you guys are interested in either these or the Allen key set that I'm using, I'll have affiliate links for both of them down in the description. Of course, no pressure, but I definitely like having around. They are kind of a nice tool to have, especially these if you've got a bike like this. And if you're wondering how to adjust your headlight up and down on one of these bikes, the fastener that you got to loosen is right there. It sort of pivots the headlight up and down at the bottom. If I recall right, I think I actually need to pull mine up a little bit, so I'm gonna have to do that while I'm working on this. There's one. And 2. Now this part's gonna be a little tricky since my CarPlay navigation unit is attached to the fairing here. Am I still attached to something? This doesn't seem right. Think about having all these bikes, I can never seem to keep straight how to take them apart. Oh, wait, that's right. There's one more right there. So now, despite all my cables and attachments, I believe this should come off here. Work my lines out of it. There we go. A little bit more slack. Quite the mess in there. Maybe this is what people mean when they say I overcomplicate bikes. Should really have something underneath there. Like this thing's not already all scratched up, but oh well. So now, this should come off. Ooh, not quite in the way I expected. Apparently this one wasn't really even attached anymore. Still just stuck right to the fastener. And with that, I think Got one more to do. Now, take that to the bench and work on getting this attached like that. So I've got some marks to drill holes in the Husqvarna Cowl, but before I fasten it to there, I pulled the shield off the DR650 to see what this would look like on here, and it looks like without my GPS bar on here, this might almost work. I think you probably could get that to happen. Might look a little bit funny since it doesn't quite match the lines on the side, but this might not be a terrible option. It's definitely at a little bit more of an angle than I would like. I prefer it to be stood up a little bit more like that, but maybe the company or somebody else can make something similar with some brackets that just stand this off a little bit more from the plate, and I think that would actually be a pretty good option. I would definitely run that. You could almost make it work on the stock Honda XR650L cowl too, but definitely I think would require a little bit of bending to make these two things made up properly, but might be an option. Wouldn't look half bad. But as far as the Husqvarna goes though, right about there is where I plan to put it, so I am sort of flexing the brackets in just a bit, or I guess flexing the brackets and moving the shield itself. But right about there is what my goal is, so hopefully we can get those holes drilled properly and that affixed. Prop that up a little bit. They say 5 millimeters for the drill, but I think whatever I've got in my chuck here will work. I'll turn it back now. Like I don't already have a bunch of holes in this thing though. Should really have marked this with an awl, but it seems like this is working. And since this shield is going to be clear, I'll be able to see right through it. I think before I fasten that down, I'm going to try to clean up some of the nastiness on here. Good opportunity to test out the Tusk First Line plastic and lens polish and cleaner that Rocky Mountain sent me. White's just not really a great color for a dirt bike, but oh well. If they're not dirty, you're not using them for what they were designed to be used for. It's good enough to me. Yeah, it might get a little bit better if I worked on it a little bit more, but certainly looks a little bit nicer. I'll have an affiliate link for this stuff down in the description as well. Of course, no pressure, but I would say make sure you're using something that is made for plastic when you're cleaning, especially lenses, or a shield on a helmet, because stuff like Windex and other cleaners that aren't specifically designed for this stuff can deteriorate it, causing you issues, which definitely wouldn't be good on a helmet. Then I need another one of the little fasteners and the little washers. I'll slip that through the bracket. Take another one of the rubber washers. Install that underneath. So basically I have to do that with all of them since I'm going to be dropping that on there next. How am I going to get all that lined up? I guess maybe it'll work out all right. Certainly a little tricky, not too terrible though. There we go. Then next comes another plastic washer and a nylock nut. Well, that does not look half bad. I almost sort of wish that I would have mounted a little bit further just so these tabs here would have lined up with the top, but I think that'll all probably kind of blend together once it's on the bike and it won't matter. And that little bit of extra coverage might be nice. I guess we'll see. Gotta get it on the bike first. I have to get a different tool for that one. Grab the Tusk ball end Allens out of my trail pack here. There they are. But I gotta say, all in all, I'm really pretty darn impressed with this kit, especially for the price. There are a few little odd things about it. For one, I stuck a rubber hose, split it open, stuck it on the ABS line here, which is next to the brake line, and then zip tied it on, because through the sort of range of motion of the forks here, it was ending up dragging on the sort of harsh edge on one of the brackets here, and also even a little bit further down on the threaded portion of one of the fasteners that goes through there. And some of the fasteners do stick through kind of a ways, so definitely want to be aware of that, especially like the one down there, so you don't have any lines or wires rubbing on them and eventually rubbing through and leaking or shorting out or anything like that. So definitely want to make sure that everything is set up properly and not going to cause you any issues down the road. The one that goes through the fairing on this side as well can kind of cause some interference there, and I'm actually sort of wishing that I would have drilled these down a little bit lower, because as you can see, I've got a bit of interference with my wire cable harness here and the nut on there, so that's not great. And I'm certainly not 100% confident that the way that I've got this all laid out is the way that it's going to stay. I'll, again, want to keep an eye on all my wires and cables and everything just to make sure nothing's causing any problems or wearing through anywhere. For now, though, let's fire this thing up, and we'll talk a bit about how it performs while riding. Water's still a bit high around here. Let's get out trout fishing soon, though. So first we'll hit some bumpy stuff. Hopefully this will display the first sort of issue that I've noticed about it. So when things get even just mildly bumpy, you can probably see how much this whole thing moves around. And I mean, it's not necessarily the windshield or brackets themselves, it's just the way that it's sort of fixed to the stock fairing. And I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. I guess maybe the way that I've got the CarPlay unit, the Speedo CarPlay unit attached down there might make that a little bit worse, since I'm sort of pushing it away from the fairing stay down there. Either way, it certainly bounces around a lot, and I guess I didn't really anticipate that. I mean, of course, you could put some sort of bracket crossways in there to kind of try and stiffen that up, but I think I might even have to move the CarPlay unit back a little bit. Otherwise, I think I'm going to end up kind of scuffing the inside up there where that rubs on it, which, I mean, I guess whatever. If that's always going to be there, it's not going to be a big deal, but it is, well, I don't know, sort of odd. And when I get a little bit farther off the road, further down the road, when I do a little bit more riding on this bike and a little more testing, it'll be interesting to see how much it moves or if it causes any problems. I mean, I guess I don't really know that it would. It seems like there's just kind of a lot of spring there to it, so I don't know. Hopefully it hangs on, I guess, and doesn't rip the plastic off. As far as seeing the road or the trail or whatever, it definitely provides, I mean, probably a little bit more vision than the super dark one that I had before, especially if I'm kind of needing to see right in front of my tire. I think I would certainly prefer this. Obviously, with it all covered in raindrops, it's not all that easy to see through. And I guess once it's all full of mud, it won't be that easy to see through either. But of course, if you're somebody that is building a bike to perform both on and off the road, then there's always going to be some amount of sacrifice needed one way or the other. And of course, it's up to you to decide whether you want that to be on or off the road. As far as performance on 60-mile-an-hour county road here, I don't know how it sounds to you guys. So I can drop my head down a little bit. Certainly provides a lot more wind protection than the other one did. It's maybe, I don't know if it's any thinner, but it's certainly not a huge amount of wind protection, which I mean, I think is okay. And I wasn't looking for Goldwing type comfort, just something that's, well, better than what stock would be and better than what the little small KTM 690 windshield was. And I think it certainly accomplishes that. So we could actually do the speed limit here at 60 miles an hour. I would say I'm definitely a lot more comfortable. It brings the the buffeted wind to just right about here, kind of right above my camera, which I think is good. I mean, I guess if I was to open this, I think it would probably still make a little bit of racket, but not probably as bad as the XR or the DR setup. It does add a little bit of noise to the helmet, but it's not really anything that I would say is super annoying. And I definitely like that I don't have that buffeted wind kind of coming in the bottom of the helmet now. It's not hitting my neck, which is especially nice on a 50-ish degree day like it is today, with especially with the rain coming down a bit. And with that rain coming down, it's nice to have a little bit higher of protection to sort of duck down behind as well if I want to try to keep myself a little bit drier. So I'm definitely happy to have it, especially with today's weather. I do feel the air on my shoulders just a tad, but I think it's still a lot better than it was, again, just because the protection's so much higher. It's not, like I mentioned, super wide. There's only about that much clean air. I'm kind of touching the buffeted sections otherwise when I get to the end. And the buffeted wind noise, at least at 60 miles an hour, really is not too bad. I mean, it seems like a pretty clean cutoff, and I mean, not completely clean, but I think better than other shields that I've used, and I think that is just due to the curvature kind of at the sides and at the top. Just kind of really is a nice leaving edge for that air. Of course, keep in mind that I do always ride with earplugs, which I would suggest to anybody that's going to ride at a higher speed. It's just really not good for your hearing to get all that wind noise all the time, regardless of what you have, unless you have really good wind protection. But all in all, I would say for the price out here, I'm more than pleased with it, and honestly kind of surprised at how well it seems like it works so far. Alright, let's hop on the highway here, see how it does there. Okay, so at 70-ish, I still get blown around a little bit. My helmet does. The rest of me, though, I can feel just a bit of air on the upper parts of my shoulders. Other than that, I mean, especially if I kind of hunch down a little bit, I mean, this is really pretty darn nice wind protection. For the price, for the aesthetics of it, and the amount of wind protection that you get, this is seeming like a pretty darn good option to me. Of course, not optimal if you're going to spend hours and hours on the freeway, but I mean, that's not really what this bike is meant to do, and not really what I thought this bike would be good for when I decided to test it. I'll hunch way down and we'll do a little bit of a sound check as I straighten my back. So I definitely like that I can kind of get my head up into almost completely clean air, and it really does seem like there's just not a whole lot of buffeting coming off of this. I mean, there certainly is some, of course, but I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it so far. Of course, we'll have to put a lot more miles on it to know for sure, and I'll update you guys as that progresses. But for right now, I'm definitely a lot happier with this than I was with that last shield. Yeah, right about there, things are pretty noisy. But as long as I'm straight backed, it's really not bad. Then I do get a little bit of air kind of hitting my neck, but not much. And not direct air. I think it must be buffeted air. It certainly helps keep the wind off my chest area, though. That's nice. Just getting a little bit on my shoulders. It'll be interesting to see how that compares to the clip that I took with the last shield on here. Alright, how about a little bit of off-road riding? Standing up. Yeah, the thing definitely bounces around. Oh! But I really kind of like how far away it seems like it is. I mean, I suppose I could still smack my face on it. So definitely a bit of a guillotine risk, but of course any windshield you put on a dual sport, you're kind of going to have that just because of, whoa, how close it's going to be to you. But certainly could be worse. Yeah, I'm definitely liking that it's clear Super nice that I can actually see my fender and right next to the front tire. Yeah, definitely like it better for this compared to that last super dark one, even as tall as this one is. So all in all, for the price of this thing, man, I mean, I'm really pretty darn happy and impressed and sort of surprised, honestly. It, I think, fits the aesthetic of the bike. Install was a little bit of a pain, but really not too bad. Obviously, be mindful of where you're putting those fasteners. I would say having this down just a little bit further would be better, but certainly works the way that I've got it, just not quite the right fit exactly. I'll of course do some more testing on it and let you guys know in future videos how I'm feeling about it, but for right now it definitely gets the thumbs up. I really don't have anything to complain about other than the fact that it bobbles around a little bit, and that of course you may be causing yourself some issues if you don't closely watch your cables and wires and that sort of thing. But I think as long as you do that, from what I've seen so far, this is going to be a really nice addition to a bike like this if you're somebody that's going to spend a decent amount of time on the 60-ish mile-an-hour roads. On the freeway, protection could be better, but again, of course, if you're looking for something that is going to be somewhat low profile for off-road riding, I mean, I don't think you're going to find anything too much better than this. It seems like 60 miles an hour is just sort of the sweet spot for dual sport and adventure bikes anyway. It's kind of the speed that I prefer to ride at. Things are just a little bit less noisy and you don't get blown around as much as you would at 70 miles an hour. And I think at 70 miles an hour, this windshield is probably superior to the last one from a body wind protection standpoint. If you're somebody that doesn't really like the buffeting hitting your helmet, then maybe you would prefer something a little bit shorter. But like I said, at 60 miles an hour, it just seems like that's just the sweet spot for this thing. It just keeps the wind off of your body, off your neck, and there's just a little bit of a very small amount of buffeting that hits your helmet. But with my visor closed and my earplugs in, I mean, it didn't bother me at all. It was really a very nice, comfortable ride. So I will have an affiliate link for this as well as all my other gear and mods and stuff down in the description. If you use those, it doesn't cost you anything extra, just helps me to continue making videos like this, and I definitely appreciate that. Of course, keep in mind I do only have a little bit of ride time on this, so maybe wait until I get a few more miles on this thing and can give you guys a little bit more of an in-depth review on it. But until next time, guys, take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out here and enjoy this beautiful world God created any chance you get. And hey, if you can't do that right now, here's some more videos to check out in the meantime. Catch you guys in the next one.